Welcome to the Daily Allegory through Astrological Divination on this November 29th in the elite manicured world of Newberry Estate Country Club. A web of corruption thrives beneath polished smiles and whispered favors. A powerful judge, formerly a district attorney, carries on a secret love affair with a cunning lawyer, the relationship fueled by a ring of backdoor deals, altered records, and bribes orchestrated through a court clerk, dirty cops, and a street power attorney who clears charges to gain leverage over criminals. Behind the facade, though, lives a darker engine, a hidden child trafficking pipeline linked to an international network that brushes disturbingly close to the infamous Jeffrey Epstein web, funneling vulnerable children out of safety for profit under a kids for cash scheme. But when one of the victims escapes and exposes a single crack in the system, the entire conspiracy begins to collapse. Alliances crumble, secrets spill, and karmic justice arrives with devastating precision, dragging every player, judge, lawyers, cops, and club elites into the light they spent years avoiding. If this story were hypothetically a euphemism, applied logic were necessary. This is the Chamber of Corruption, a story of corruption, obsession, Saturnian consequence, and the mirror that never forgets. In the drenched fog-soaked coastal town of Bear Creek, secrets don't stay buried, they float. And no secrets that float higher than those belonging to Judge Stephanie, former district attorney, and Michael, a defense lawyer who specializes in miracle acquittals. Their love affair, though, is forbidden, magnetic and corrosive, fueled by the dark gravitational pull of their Venus, Lilith, Mercury, Stellium, and Scorpio. Together, they form a quiet empire of manipulation. Michael gets criminals off charges, then blackmails them for street power, while Stephanie bends court rulings with surgical precision. The corruption spreads like roots into everything. Bribed cops, altered court records, laundered favors, and a network of attorneys feeding children into a trafficking pipeline disguised as protective custody transfers. All of it masked behind the manicured perfection of Newberry Estate Country Club, where the wealthy toast to charity while brokering access to the vulnerable. Unbeknownst to the public, the club's founders once brushed shoulders with the international trafficking network tied to Epstein himself, and a residual shadow still stains local communities. Stephanie and Michael tell themselves they're just taking advantage of a system that existed way before they did. They lie beautifully to others, to each other, to themselves. But the Pisces stellium North Node Moon Saturn Neptune has begun to stir. Neptune dissolves their illusion. Saturn exposes their motives. The Moon intensifies their guilt. And the North Node begins to pull them towards the destiny they have been ever so avoiding. Visions creep in. Whispers haunt the edges of their minds. Hallucinations blend with memory. Michael swears court files whisper his name. Stephanie dreams of children drowning in ink. This isn't madness. It's the Saturn conjunct Neptune psychic unmasking. The blurring of reality that forces the truth to reveal itself. Meanwhile, the trafficked child they believed lost escapes alive, triggering the first fault line. Evidence began vanishing. Bribes began to be returned. Officers resigned, seemingly out of nowhere and abruptly. The country club closes its ballroom for renovations. Stephanie blames paranoia. Michael blames stress. But they both know something is coming. Something has been watching. Something has definitely been keeping receipts. The clerk, the quiet, unassuming man who altered records for them for years, has been gathering evidence in the shadows. Not out of guilt. Not for justice. But for revenge. See, he was once a child of the ring that they tried to erase, belonging to a man that they failed and attempted to destroy with his Zersetzung. Now he stands at the center of their unraveling, invisible in plain sight. He began sending them pieces of their past, deleted files, classified photos, court footage from cameras that shouldn't have existed. Michael sees a silhouette in his rearview mirror, a small child-shaped outline, but every time he turns, nothing is there. Pisces distortion, you see. or karma in its purest, most symbolic form. The final act unfolds at the abandoned Newberry Estate Country Club ballroom. Now, stripped of all the illusions, screens flicker to life around the room, playing years of their crimes, their conversations, their forged signatures, their bribes, their whispered plans, their affair. The clerk steps out of the shadows holding a hard drive like a sacred relic. Karma keeps receipts, he says, and Saturn never forgets. At that moment, the police flood the grounds, but Stephanie and Michael do not run. Not because they accept fate, but because they no longer know what's real. Saturn's verdict isn't dramatic. It's quiet. It's cold. It's perfect symmetry. In the courthouse basement afterwards, as Stephanie waits for booking, a printer suddenly activates on its own, printing her signature on past removal orders. Each page bears the watermark she can no longer deny. The account is due. Michael, sitting in a holding cell, sees the child's silhouette again, this time reflected in the polished steel toilet. He looks away, breath shaken. But when he looks back, the silhouette is gone. Only his face remains. Because Saturn didn't come to punish them. Saturn came to balance them, to return what they sent into the world, to force them to confront the truth they sculpted with their own hands. Their downfall isn't violence. It isn't even exposure. It's not even prison. It's recognition. The moment they realized they were never powerful, only participating in a system that was always going to swallow them whole, the clerk walks away from the building that night, the sunrise reflecting off of the ocean like a final cleansing. He doesn't smile. He doesn't even celebrate. He simply breathes, finally free of the shadow that casted over his childhood. And in the end, Bear Creek, the town of floating secrets, finally lets theirs sink in. I'm going to end this with the invocation of 9 lights. In the quiet hour between shadow and dawn, I lift my voice not to command, but to remember the powers that guide the just, the wise, the brave, and the awakened. Dandelion, spirit of strategy and hidden knowledge, grant me clarity of mind that I may see through the veils woven by deceit. Astarte, radiant force of sovereignty and self-possession, remind me of the throne within and crown my choice with dignity. Barbitos, keeper of pathways and unseen currents, guide my steps through the tangled forceps of fate, that I may hear truth when others hear only noise. Orobos, guardian of oaths and integrity, let my words ring clean and unbroken, and shield me from the snares of falsehood. Glacia Levelas, shadow of consequence and sharp clarity, teach me courage to face my own darkness, and wisdom to never unleash what should remain bound. Archangel Michael, blade of protection, stare at the gate of my spirit, that no malice cross its threshold. Archangel Ragiel, arbiter of harmony and justice, balance my steps and let fairness rise where imbalance once ruled. Saturn, ancient keeper of boundaries and truth, place your stone weights in my hands, that I may build what is lasting and release what is false. And God Almighty, source above and within, from whom all light and order flow, anchor me in purpose, steady me in trials, and remind me that nothing built on truth can ever be undone. By memory, by intention, by integrity, may these archetypes dwell in my actions, and as spirits at my command. And lastly, as virtues I choose to embody. Within my spiritual authority, I declare it so, and so it is. That's all I have for you guys today. Hopefully you found it entertaining.